Hello, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to share with you some of the books that I am going to read or some of the books I am very likely going to read for Women in Translation Month. Now this event is actually one of my most favorite bookish events, sort of like my most favorite readathon, because I typically enjoy books written by female authors, and at the same time I also enjoy translated fiction, and this event pretty much combines both of those things. And so here I'm going to show you a bunch of books that I might read for this event in August. But yeah, recently I'm not really active with readathons. I did not participate in much of the readathons that I did participate in before, and that's just simply because I just want to make reading feel free. But I guess in August I want a little bit of that structure again, and of course WIT is like one of my most favorite readathons. So I have a big number of books that I want to show here. Now, based on my track record in the past, I usually am a big failure when it comes to timed events. I think in 2020 I had like 4 books, or was it last year? I can't remember. I had 4 books for women translation, but I couldn't even finish those 4 books in 1 month. Not that I feel bad about it or anything, but it's just the way things are. But because I'm really excited right now, I am going to talk about more than 4 books. So I'm going to talk about the first one that I'm actually sort of currently reading. It's July, it's not even August, but I already started reading this one in June, I think. This is Memoirs of Hadrian by Marguerite Yourcenar, and this one was translated by Grace Frick from from French to English, and I'm reading this one really slowly. So this is kind of like the fictionalized biography or autobiography of the Emperor Hadrian, and it basically talks about, it's a book that talks about his life, his philosophy on things, his opinions on things and stuff like that. And the idea is that this entire book is kind of like his rumination on his own life and his philosophy that he intends to dedicate to his successor. So far, I think I mentioned earlier, I'm reading this one slowly. So after reading it for 1 month, I am still on page 46. And I think that's the most sensible thing for me to do because I don't know my Roman emperor. I don't know anything about Roman history, and so there are so many things that are kind of unfamiliar to me in this book. But another aspect of this book that I like is that it feels kind of approachable in a way. It feels intimate. It doesn't try to like scare you by showing you all these unfamiliar things about history, about culture, about Roman culture. There are of course those things, and you may get intimidated if you're not familiar with them, but at the same time the tone is just kind of warm, and basically it's just about some guy talking about himself. And not exactly in a braggy way, it's just it feels like a quiet book. It feels very reflective, and I am appreciating that side of it, and I am still going to read this one. I would say I'm kind of enjoying it right now. Yay! So the other one that I hope to read I think I'm very likely going to read this one. The likeliest of the bunch is Tomb of Sand by Daisy, no, not by Daisy Rockwell, by Geetanjali Shree, but translated from Hindi to English by Daisy Rockwell. So this one, I'm hoping to read it as part of a read-along organized by Sarah from Hardcover Huts. And I think a read-along for a book of this length would be an excellent idea, because I would say I do need a bit of that extra motivation to read something as long as this, even though I must say I do have interest in reading this book. I bought this like a few months ago, and I don't know, I feel like this book gives off this kind of vibe that I think sort of fits with me, you know, if that makes sense. I'm not exactly sure what this book is about specifically, but I think there is an old woman character, the protagonist, and she's depressed, I think, because of something that happens to her family. And this book is kind of like her story as she tries to get out of that headspace situation. And I think there is also she will also befriend a transgender character, I think, in this book. I don't know, I might be wrong on certain details, but that's kind of like my impression when I skimmed through the description of this book a while ago. I'm not interested in reading closely the description again. I just want to like discover this book. So hopefully in August I'm going to read this and also finish it. And next one that I'm going to read is a book that I don't have a paper copy of. It's called Bad Girls by Camila Sosa Villada, who is an Argentinian writer. Now, this book was translated from Spanish into English by Kit Maude. And again, I'm not sure what this book is, you know, about exactly, but I think there is a trans character who also works as a sex worker, or at least there is going to be like a reference to sex work in this novel as well, and I'm really interested in that. Like I think that the premise sounds so good, and also the cover is so cheeky. So now this is something that I am okay. I think there's a interruption. I think this is something that I am planning to read also as part of the new release-a-thon, which is another readathon that I first heard from Shannon's channel, If That's So Po. And this is a readathon that is organized by a group of booktubers whose names I will definitely list down in the description box below. And I think I'm only going to read one book for this readathon, because I'm not so much of a new release reader. I'm much more of a backlist person, but I found this book and I thought it was interesting. It was also a translated fiction. And quite excited for this one. Now, moving on to the rest of the books, I have Lake Like a Mirror by Ho Sok Fong, and this is a short story collection originally written in Chinese and translated into English by Natascha Bruce. Now, Ho Sok Fong is a Malaysian author, but I think she is based in Taiwan, and much of the stories in this book, they are described as surreal. I actually started reading this book last year. At that time I was reading it electronically, but electronic reading is not exactly something that fits very well with my soul. So now I have a paper copy. I think I'll be able to enjoy the reading experience much more. I've read a few of the stories, including the titular stories, which I really like. It's about academic censorship in Malaysia, which is really interesting and quite specific, but the way it's written is also very interesting. Yeah, about the stories, many reviewers sort of describe the stories as surreal, but I don't think that it's necessarily the right word to describe everything in this book, but rather there is a kind of I would say, judging from the stories I already read, there's this sense of claustrophobia in the stories. There's this sense of kind of like a lack of enlightenment, like how the characters just seem to be in the dark, almost always in an uncomfortable situation. Much of the stories are quite feminist in nature as well, and so I think that sounds like a very interesting short story collection. I am hoping to finish this book this month or soon, hopefully, and yeah, let's see what I think about this entire collection. Yeah, another fun fact, I think one of the writings of Ho Sok Fong was actually banned in Malaysia. So I think, I don't remember which one is it. I think there was one story which is about which has something to do with apostasy, if I'm not mistaken, apostasy in Islam, which is a controversial topic in Malaysia. And so I'm kind of interested in reading that story. I've not gotten to that part yet, so looking forward to it. Okay, so next I am interested in reading this one. I have had this copy for quite a while now. This is by Sofi Oksanen. It's called Purge, and this one was originally written in Finnish, I think, and it was translated by Lola Rogers. Honestly, I can't really say that I know exactly what this book is about, because the description at the back of this book is so freaking vague. I mean, there is some specificity to it, but then it's also kind of vague in a way. So we have two women. One is a murderer and a victim of sex trafficking, and another one is a communist sympathizer. And the story is set in an Estonian forest. And these two women, they are, I don't know what they're doing. I think they are running from people, running from someone who want to catch them. And it only says that their survival now depends on exposing the one thing that kept them hidden, ... the truth. Honestly, I don't really like that kind of, that kind of description is just so cringy. So if you are someone who writes description, I hope you don't do something like that. Okay, moving on, I have a book from a personal favorite author of mine. This one is by Elif Shafak. This is called The Flea Palace, and recently she has been writing her novels in English, and I think she also translates them to Turkish herself, I think. But this is actually one of her earliest novels, and this was originally written in Turkish and was translated by someone else. It was translated by Müge Göçek, and this is about an apartment complex in Turkey, in Istanbul. Now, this apartment complex apparently has turned into some kind of a dilapidated housing, and I think it is about the stories of the residents in that apartment complex. Now, something happened, I think it mentions here, when the garbage at that place is stolen, a mysterious sequence of events unfold that results in a soul-searching quest for truth. Yeah, that sort of sounds kind of cliched. But this is one of Elif Shafak's earlier works, which, based on what I've read in the past, I think her earlier works were kind of good. Not to say that her more recent stuff is not so good. I still kind of like them, except for The Island of Missing Trees, which I But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one. So, moving on to a very recently released book. I think it was released last year, or maybe the year before that. You know, the English translation, I don't know. And this one is by Kikuko Tsumura. It's called There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job. And this one was translated into English from Japanese by Barton, which is about this woman. I think she is nameless in this book. A woman who wants to look for a job that requires no thinking, no reading, very easy kind of a job. And so she ends up doing various kinds of jobs that sort of fits her description. But I think, or I expect that this story is going to still kind of like explore, despite, you know, requiring no thinking or no reading, stuff like that. There will be still some kind of struggle involved with these jobs. I think that's, you know, that's the thing that's going to be explored in this book. But I hope to be surprised as well, because novelists are such creative people. That's what I look forward to the most when I read novels. Unexpected exploration of things. So, next one, I have this book. It's called Adèle by Leïla Slimani. This one was originally written in French and it was translated into English by Sam Taylor. And this is about a woman who lives in Paris and she's sort of bored with her life, and then she starts to engage in one-night stands and all, and she sort of gets trapped by that, by her machinations to make her life more interesting. I think that's what this book is about. Anyway, it's a very short book and the spacing is quite big. I actually think very likely I'm going to get to this soon-ish, because I am also in a mood to read a large print book right now. Yeah, you know, I am in need of a large print book. Okay, the next one, I'm not sure if it's a large print book. Not so much, it's a medium print book, I guess. It's by Elena Ferrante. This is called The Lying Life of Adults. And this one was translated by Anne Goldstein, I think. I've not checked. And let's see if I'm correct. Yes, I am. And so this is about body image, I think. It says here, Giovanna's pretty face has changed. It's turning into the face of an ugly, spiteful adolescent. But is she seeing things as they really are? Where must she look to find her true reflection and a life she can claim as her own? I guess. Not going to elaborate further on what this book is about, because I think that this book is fairly popular on BookTube. If you have heard of this book, you very likely know what it's about, I think. What do you think about this book? I've only read Neapolitan novels by Ferrante, and I like those. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. Yeah, I still have a bunch of books to show you. I still have 4 more books. I think, yeah, 4 more books left. The next one is originally written in Korean, and it's called Our Happy Time by Gong Jiyoung. And this one was translated by Sora Kim Russell. And this is kind of interesting. It's about this woman who is a suicide attempt survivor. And she is brought by one of her family members to go on a charity event or something, to meet with a death row inmate. And she sort of, I guess, struck a relationship with one of the inmates, and I don't know what happens after that. I'm not sure how the nature of that relationship is going to be. It's like really vague at the back here. But yeah, something to do like that, and how their relationship is kind of like it's going to be very short because presumably the guy is going to be executed or something. And yeah, it's like that. I'm really bad at talking about book descriptions. Hopefully I'll be, it'll be better for this one, because I think that this is kind of interesting. So this was a recommendation by Sina from Beating Around the Books. This is called Nervous System by Lina Marwan, and it was translated by Megan McDowell from Spanish into English. Now this is kind of interesting because apparently we have a character who is struggling to finish her thesis, and she's hoping that she could get sick so that she can get some more time to finish her thesis, because she's just having a hard time with it. But then she begins to develop symptoms that the doctor just can't explain. And I think that is going to lead to some other exploration, because apparently it says here it leads her to her family, and there will be some buried secrets because of that. I'm not sure how the author is going to take that. I think it sounds very interesting and also kind of humorous in a way. I expect that there will be some kind of humor in this book also, because honestly, hoping really hard to get sick because you can't finish your thesis is comedy material, honestly. So yeah, this is one book that I'm really looking forward to reading, mainly because of that is so relatable. I can tell you how many times I genuinely wish that I could get sick. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it's okay. Forget about that. The next one is originally written in Finnish, I think. So this is like the second book originally written in Finnish in my pile of possibilities. And this one is by Johanna Sinisalo. It's called The Core of the Sun. And this one also has, at least based on the description, sounds sort of humorous in a way. It has that the vibes of The Handmaid's Tale, honestly. So I think what happens in this book is that we have women who are sort of bred bred for sex and procreation purposes in this Finnish society, this dystopian Finnish society. They have women who are bred for sex and procreation, and these women are sort of submissive and are not intelligent, while the women who are intelligent are sterilized. Now, another thing that happens in the society is that there is an addiction towards chili peppers, which is interesting because right now I'm staying at home, I'm trying to grow chilies. Anyway, I digress. There's an addiction of chili peppers in this novel, and apparently the protagonist is someone who is addicted to chili pepper. And the protagonist's sister is a woman who is sort of not as intelligent as the protagonist, I think. And the sister is sort of an individual intended for the sex and procreation purpose in her society. But one day her sister is missing, and she is really she's trying to look for her sister, and that sort of leads her to a cult where they have this kind of like chili, supposedly the hottest chili, that presumably could give you like the best high or something. I don't know, that sounds kind of wacky. So I think this is pretty high up on my list as well. Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, and you know, the whole thing with the chili, it's kind of it's giving me this weird vibe because I'm really trying to grow chilies. I have some chilies growing right now, so. And the last book on my list is by Daughter Noe, and this one is called Mirror Shoulder Signal. And this one is originally written in Danish, and it was translated into English by Misha Hoekstra. And let's see what this book is about. I think the way it's written in here is kind of, it's very general. Sonia's over 40, and she's trying to move in the right direction. She's learning to drive, she's joined a meditation group, and she's attempting to reconnect with her sister. Fast forward, because, you know, it's just kind of like to the end. Mirror Shoulder Signal is a poignant, sharp-witted tale of one woman's journey in search of herself when there's no one to ask for directions. I don't know, it's I guess it sounds kind of okay. This is kind of like one of the larger print books that I have on my pile, so very likely I'm going to try this one as well as a leisure read. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But most of all, I'm actually expecting to be surprised by this, because the way it is written in the description, it just feels so vanilla. Like, who writes those descriptions? I hate it. Okay, I don't hate it. Hate is a really strong word. It's just, it's okay, but it could have been better, you know. But anyway, that's all for my pile of possibilities. Have you read any of these books? Are you intending to join or participate in Women in Translation? And if so, what are the books that you want to read? Yeah, anything you want to say? Feel free to say in the comments below. You can like and subscribe if you want. Share if you want, and I guess I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.